Naval officers, what's the strangest thing you discovered living with on a submarine for months? When I got assigned to my first long-term mission on the USS Barracuda, I thought I was ready for anything. 90 days underwater with 40 guys crammed into tight spaces, no sunlight, just the constant hum of machinery. I'd trained for the isolation, the stress, the weird smells, but nobody prepared me for Kyle. Kyle Jacobs was this petty officer who seemed normal enough at first. Quiet guy, did his job, kept to himself, but after about 2 weeks underwater, I started noticing something really weird. I never saw him sleep, ever. At first I figured it was just our schedules not lining up. You know how it is on subs. People sleep at all different times. But then, I started paying attention. Midnight watch? Kyle was there. Wide awake, looking fresh. Day shift? Still there. Off-duty hours when everyone else was crashed out? Kyle was in the galley reading or just wandering around. I asked some of the other guys about it. Most just shrugged and said stuff like, yeah, he's weird, or maybe he naps when you're not around. But I checked the duty logs. Kyle hadn't signed off for sleep for more than 30 minutes at a time, in 3 weeks. The really creepy part was that he looked totally fine. No bags under his eyes, never nodding off during briefings, never making mistakes. He was sharp as hell, maybe sharper than the rest of us. So I finally asked him straight up, trying to joke about it. Dude, are you like a vampire or something? He just smiled this weird smile and said, sleep feels like a waste of time. That should have been my first red flag, but it got so much worse. Kyle started showing up places he wasn't supposed to be. During maintenance checks, he'd already be inside the ventilation system before anyone else got there. In the engine room during drills, he'd be behind panels that should have been locked. One night I woke up around 3 a.m. to use the head, and Kyle was just standing in the hallway, not doing anything, just staring into the darkness. When he saw me, he nodded like it was totally normal and walked away. The crew started getting really uncomfortable. Guys were requesting bunk changes because they said they could feel Kyle watching them sleep. Someone found him in the communications room at 4 a.m. just sitting there, not on duty, not doing anything. When they asked what he was doing, he said he was listening to the ocean. But the thing that really freaked everyone out was when I caught him watching old security footage on one of the computers. Just sitting there, replaying video from earlier that same day, watching all of us go about our routines. When I asked what he was doing, he turned around with that same weird smile and said, I like knowing where everyone is. I reported it to the CO, but he just brushed it off. If he does his job and doesn't cause problems, I don't care if he hangs from the ceiling like a bat. But it was causing problems. Morale was tanking. Guys were jumpy, paranoid. The whole atmosphere on the boat changed. I finally pushed command to look deeper into Kyle's background. Turns out he'd been discharged from his last sub-assignment after some kind of psychological evaluation. The details were classified, but it wasn't a dishonorable discharge. He'd just been quietly transferred out. When I contacted his former commanding officer, there was this long pause before he said, that guy gives you the creeps, doesn't he? The last month was pure tension. Nobody wanted to confront Kyle directly, but we started doing this unofficial buddy system where someone was always near him, just in case. Guys would take extra shifts just to keep an eye on him. Kyle never seemed to notice, or if he did, he didn't care. The worst part was during the final week. I was doing my rounds when I found Kyle in the torpedo room, just sitting cross-legged on the floor in complete darkness. He wasn't doing anything, wasn't checking equipment, just sitting there in the dark like he was meditating or something. When I flicked on the lights, he looked up at me and said, it's peaceful here, quiet. When we finally surfaced after 90 days, everyone was relieved to see sunlight again. But Kyle looked disappointed, like he didn't want to leave. During debrief, he kept talking about how much he'd missed the calm of being underwater. Kyle got transferred again right after we docked. Quietly, no fanfare, just gone. I never found out where they sent him, but I heard through the grapevine that he kept requesting submarine duty. Command kept approving it too, probably because nobody wanted to deal with him on surface ships. I did 3 more submarine tours after that, and I never encountered anything like Kyle again.